Okay. So, so a bit of feedback there. How can we move forward from faith-based reasoning?
Well, so the question is, how can we move forward from the
faith reasoning?
Not necessarily faith, but also all forms of like believing in ideology. Well, that is the complicated part. Why? Because I always share I used to share a lot about those topics, which is very complicated. So maybe it sounds like a little bit tricky and kind of philosophical way to express things. But my question is, and then we have to be a little bit more attentive along this question. The question is, can we raise an education first of all, self-education, first of all. And by education, I do not necessarily refer exclusively to the field of like, school, elementary school, then up to the academia, university. Okay, the question is, can we raise a self-education and an education that allows us to think about our faith or a spiritual mindset or ideology or belief or whatever it is? Can we think about it without the whole cognitive structure and scaffolding of conditioning that we have about it? What we have been told about it, what we read about it, what my guru or your guru or the gurus have said about those things, what they have created, what they have invented. Which means, to say something simple, if I believe, I don't know, in the law of attraction, which is ridiculous, so nonsense, can I think about that belief without the whole structure of the cognition, which is conditioned, that made me think about that belief? Is that possible?
Can we study our faith? Can we observe it? Can we look at it without taking it personally and also identifying with it? That's the trick.
Yeah, it's pretty much a study. I know that most of people do not really like that word study. It sounds like, oh, come on, I don't want to go back to school doing boring like learning. No, I'm not talking about that kind of study, repetition. I'm talking about self-examination. But there could be also some sort of passion, by the way, from it. Why not? Why not give it a try? So, this is what I mean by study.
And looking at it objectively.
Not the boring part. So, for example, by studying those things, we have to realize that there is no such a thing as a spiritual person. And there is no such a thing as a Buddhist person, or an Hindu, or an Islamic person. And there is no such a thing as like an ideological person, whether his or her ideology be communism or capitalism, American dream, whatever it is. This is false. There is a person who was born in an environment, like, or a kind of tribe, in which that person has been inoculated and indoctrinated through those particular conditionings, the particular faith, cultural beliefs, and so on. And then the person came to believe in those things. There is not a Christian person. There is a person who was born in North Carolina or wherever in Poland, and then the localistic culture and mindset indoctrinated that person in a particular way. And also, I have to say, when we challenge and we criticize the belief system, religion, spirituality, and so on, and another person says that we are being racist, no, careful, I'm not being racist, because I'm not questioning the color of the skin, which is ridiculous, will be completely ridiculous, just like racism is. But I'm not being racist. I'm not challenging a race. I'm not questioning a race. I'm questioning a belief that is like idiotic by its very conditional nature. This is something factual. We are talking about facts, not opinions.
I think a person can only move past their faith when they start to realize that this kind of faith-based thinking is thinking for them rather than their own mind?
Well, I always like to say that we were born ignorant. We were not born stupid. We were not born meant to be followers along some sort of like invented journey toward, I don't know, the achievement of our place in the paradise, the heaven, or the enlightenment, or the total stupidity promoted by the New Age, such as, for example, the increasing of the vibrational field, the activation of DNA, all this sort of nonsense. We were not born with faith. Faith has never been found like such a thing as a gene that justifies the faith idea. There is no such a thing. It's completely psychological and then sociological. And then is an anthropological factor and therefore historical. Now, the problem is that rather than questioning, people rather prefer to stick to a fallacious form of like psychological security because it gives them a false sense of psychological security. And therefore there is a form of like collective security. But is that security at all? Look at the history. Look at the present situation in the world. There is momentarily maybe security, and then it becomes like a mess.
If we can think historically, then we can see the dangers. I think that's the problem, is people aren't able to see it because they're not able to think historically, or they just don't want to. And I know when I bring this up, people think, oh, they just say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think we really do need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We really need to think and investigate and challenge this so we can see the dangers rather than always protecting them. Otherwise, we're just going backwards, and this just recreates our past, our history.
I was also wondering, what are we educated for when it comes to study the history? Just to know what Napoleon has done, like until Waterloo, and then, or the religious wars. Why don't we also study, also at school, but not only there, not just the conflicts caused by different faiths or religious believing, or about whatever it was, mysticism, whatever, but the very reason why, since people were born identical in terms of like cognition and brain, why people developed that false cognition that then led to wars and conflicts, all the rest of the stuff.
I'd really like to know why people insist on hanging onto their archaic beliefs.